Right, it's time to raise the roof off this base. It's time for base versus Raisy. There you go, Harry. What do you think of that one?
That was incredible. Well done. I
Thank
should
you.
give you a round of applause for that, really, shouldn't
Where would you rate that on a metric scale of 1 to very good?
I? Ooh, give it a 9.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
not bad. I mean, that's probably about the level that we've seen Base compete at recently. So let's talk about the man. Base, obviously, another exciting member of Pro League Brotherhood. One of my, I'd say, more interesting players to see on LAN, purely because of the personality that he brings with him. He's quite a character. He likes to obviously take the mick out of himself a little bit. He's got all these memes that he'll be busting out. Online, though, we get to see that stern, cold, killer aspect of him. The fact that he is a very good Quake competitor, but he's one of the slower ones, Harry. His play style is quite unique, and it's something I think we've seen a lot more players adopting since he really thrust it to the forefront.
He reminds me of, well, you could say reminds me of a lion in some way, where he just waits for his prey. And, okay, some people may say that, okay, he's a defensive player, passive player. It's more the fact that he likes to play slowly but surely. He wants to be absolutely certain that this should happen. If it does, then like he always tries to think 3 steps ahead. He gives himself plenty of room and time to try and adjust himself. And I think with Raisy, he knows that when he's played Raisy before, or the last time he played against Raisy, was the fact that during stage 3, he realised that even with Raisy expects surprises. You know, he loves surprises. He's one of those players where if there's anything unorthodox you're going to do, he's going to expect it every single time without fail. And the thing is that Base knows that, so he purposely forces himself in a lot of disadvantageous situations on some of his routes, and knows that if there's a possibility of getting away with it, it's the only way to defeat Raisy. But Raisy himself, he hasn't really had a good month. He's lost to most of the top EU players coming into this. He wants to try and break that cycle. He's more than good enough. He's been really impressive throughout the whole course of the Pro League, and it will be a shame if he starts dropping ever so slightly. But Base is the kind of person where, yeah, it can be quite defensive, but it's more to the fact that he's playing very slowly to when it's his advantage, to when he can actually approach and make a comeback or increase the scoreline in any way. He's just one of the biggest pain in the backsides in the Pro League, and that's not even an understatement. Base knows that as well. He knows that the way he plays, it's just extremely difficult for him to get a kill, but at the same, for anyone to actually kill him. But for him to get a kill, he's perfectly fine. He's got so many strategies up his sleeve. People do underestimate him quite a lot.
Yeah, no, he certainly is a very skilled competitor. He was my dark horse for the tournament, of course, where he was able to put up a massive result and walk away back in Katowice. He looked huge on LAN. Let's see how he will look here today, though. So let's have a look at those picks and bans and see if the maps or champions are going to be favourable to big man Base. Oh, okay. Well, straight off the bat, I can see one thing that certainly isn't. Raisy's been allowed clutch for the first time in quite some time, and that's on Blood Run. So it's a Nyx versus clutch affair. I don't know what to say about that one, other than good luck.
Good luck, have fun. You can see with the Nyx as well on Base's side on Blood Run, you know what he's planning to do, but at the same time, with the focus on the hourglasses, Raisy's going to know that Base may have a set idea and plan on what routes he's going to take every single time. He always sits in the nail room and the teleporter and then decides where he's going to go from there. It's always going to be 50-50, but hopefully with the stack and the agility of clutch, he can stop that. With the Nyx, it can be quite predictable on where they're going to go. Like I mentioned with the hourglasses, or trying to regain some armor or some of the health bubbles or etc. going into that nail room every single time. Not only if it's one of the safest areas for the audio cues, but in terms of clutch pushing in, I feel like Raisy does know that there's a possibility he will take the same paths and the same routes in terms of what movements he's actually going to make. So we're going to have to see if Raisy can topple him. But for Base, he's just going to be trying to do chip damage all day. Clutch is just a massive nuisance in itself. So Base may feel it a little bit here in this first map.
Oh, he's like a walking oil tanker. There's enough space to hit, right? Like, he's a big boy. He's a thick lad. So you want to be able to just maximize your damage output. If you can just pepper spray him with bullets, chunk him to pieces with rails, you're going to have a field day. But the issue is, up against a player like Raisy, all of that kind of goes out the window because he hits like an absolute truck on clutch. It's one of his more enjoyable champions, I'd say, to actually get to see him play, and it's rare that people allow him to play it these days. So we're in for a bit of a treat. As we step back inside the game, then let's see how it will go. Base versus Raisy to kick us off. Maestro versus Black 100.
It's going to be interesting to say the least. I just don't think Base expected him to choose clutch on Blood Run. If anyone can make it a viable option, Raisy definitely can, as he has a decent stack for now. Managed to pick up that last heavy, but does have atomic control. Has the Tribal and the rail if he does get approached if necessary, but both these players are just waiting. Base decides to go underneath. Will he get away? 2 rails down. The hunt is on. As you can see, Base, skin of his teeth, barely manages to get away. But Raisy's on the warpath here. He's looking around. He's playing aggressively to see what he can find. Nice rocket by Base, but I don't think it's going to be enough as Raisy, who's only on 13 HP, closes out that first frag. But Base gets a little bit of damage done here as Raisy's trying to increase his lead, but has to back off for now.
Raisy, a good opening first frag. Slowing down the pace as well. Slowly stomping around, listening for the pitter-patter of the small feet on that Nyx to figure out exactly where she's lurking. Drops down on top of her, spams out the opening shots, and does force her back far enough to gain safe passage towards the Mega. Ooh, he went for the nail jump. He was hoping that that would actually thrust him up on top of the ledge, so he'd be in a good position to do damage. Instead, fluffs his lines a little bit, goes for the teleporter, quickly rotates off, and grabs the heavy. So still, fantastic outcome all in all. LG is out, lots of damage done. Base has Ghost Walk, but he's not using it yet. Oh, and he might regret that.
Yeah, little bits of a slip up there. I think he realises that as well. That's a real shame. Raisy still massively stacked and is 100% going to contest this heavy. He's going to definitely go for that when he can, which he does. Nicely done. Video question comes in. This is what I'm talking about. This could be a viable option here. But the Ghost Walk comes into play. Base gets away with his life for the time being, going underneath on that rail. But Raisy's expecting this. He's going to be waiting for now to see what Base is going to do. The Mega has come up. Base managed to get at least some item control. Not for long as that first rail comes in. The heavy will be coming up in the next couple of seconds. Maybe slightly mistimed by Raisy there. But now this is Base's turn to keep that control. He has the items. He knows the timings precisely. He's left enough room to get the rotation every single time. But I don't think Raisy even expected him to push him with the LG. As Base manages to come in. But Raisy 2-1 now. Some of the LG shots come in. But at least Raisy gets the Mega for the time being.
Where am I?
Raisy only just realizes where Base is as he materializes directly in front of his eyes. He gets a good adjustment off. Takes a lot of damage as well, absorbing every shot from the rail. Talking of rails, that's sick. Base oversteps the mark, peeks out, and Raisy might be low, but he's confident as ever. Cutting through Base again. A 2-frag lead. Back in his favor once more.
This is difficult for Base here. Probably a matchup he's not used to, so have to see how he tries to counteract. But look at this though, still 5 seconds until that Mega appears. But Raisy standing his ground for now. Base is in a very good spot. Does have his ult too. Knows where Base is. And he's just sitting around in that nail room, pushing away now. At least he's got the telly. At least he can try and flank round, which he does. The ult comes in, but does so much damage to Nyx. And Base taken down again. Raisy increasing his lead. And look at his stack, Jack.
What's wild about that is the fact that Base basically couldn't even move because he was so trapped in the corner. Raisy didn't even really adjust his aim. He just held it on him and just slowly flicked at the end. Another kill as well as he's just churning the meat grinder against base. He set up and knew that we'd probably see the push coming down from base once again as well, so pepper sprays towards him and does a good amount of damage. This game is firmly in the hands of Raisy. And even if base is going for these plays to make sure he gets a major item, will he come out on top as the sidestep from Raisy? Look at the confidence and how good he is into these moments. The rail shot alone was enough to force him back, but there could have been a kill there. That is wild.
I was worried then that base would double back and then all of a suddenly Raisy will take him down, but that was a great play from base to make sure to continue on going through. Raisy knows his exact location, gets the first rail off, both on a similar stack, not anymore. As Raisy has to heal himself up just a little bit here. It's been quite slow for the time being. Raisy's just waiting for me. He knows base loves to play in the nail room and hang around for the hourglasses for his ghost walk. It's so vital, but base has predicted this. He's made the assumption that Raisy will be trying to cover his tracks from the previous times base has played Blood Run, but has found him. But it doesn't matter here. It's actually base who needs to be on the chase. There's so much damage is coming through.
Oh.
There's a bit of a suicide there. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like some kind of calculated move where he thought if I nail myself here, I can get back in on the spawn. I don't know. But, I mean, it won't really affect the game overall now because it's been equalized already. Raisy straight back in off the spawn, gets another kill. It did just look quite comedic seeing this gigantic robot fall over after shooting itself in the foot. Literally. Straight back in for more carnage, though, and that's what Raisy does best. He excels in the chaos category. He'll take down base, not once, not twice, but 3 times on the spin.
Maybe Raisy planned to commit suicide so at least he can restack and then take down base straight after.
I genuinely, I mean, maybe he did, but I don't know. It just seems so bizarre.
It was just convenient that he had the tri-bolt spawn, and I was just like, okay. It was a bit of a mistake. Yeah, but that was a mistake. But we'll let you have that one because it was just a weird 200 IQ play. But back to the game at hand anyway. 2.5 minutes left. Look at Raisy's stack. He's laughing at this point. Blood Run. So Blood Run is his playground. Attack space. Goes straight in. Increases his lead further. 9-1. It is a CIS map after all. We know a lot of them really enjoy it. But base isn't enjoying himself at the time. Does get a rail to clean things up. But it's still got 2 minutes 10 to try and close out a 7 frag deficit. Which I highly doubt it's going to happen here.
Yeah, no, I just don't see it happening. It's Raisy on clutch. It's the one thing that was staring me in the face from the get-go as soon as we saw the veto. You could tell that this man was going to just have a party, and that's what he's done. He's made balloon animals out of base, essentially, throughout the course of this game. And he continues on to do so. That time he made him into a balloon dog. Dead now, of course. Popped.
It's a real shame, isn't it, Jack? It's a
Did
real shame.
you ever have any balloon animals as a child, Harry?
I probably have done at some point.
Very nice.
At some stage, one way or another. Maybe when I was turned 5 or something at a party, but yeah. Anyways, 11-2 now in favour of Raisy. Base definitely doesn't have any time at all to waste, but I don't think it's going to happen. 9 frag deficit, minute 10 left, not going to happen. Raisy now just going to be bouncing around with that clutch. But it's shown it is a viable option. It's actually pretty strong considering some of the stuff he was doing here. He's going to try and bait out base. Yes, he does. Base goes through because why not?
Ooh.
Finishes him off and increases his lead further, 12-2.
Man. Raisy's just, yeah, I don't know. He's just as good as he always is, isn't he? You give him clutch, you just know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to have a field day. He's going to roll around. He's just going to slaughter you at every opportunity, and that's just what he's done here. Worrying factor is this is only the start of the series. There's still 2 more maps to go. And can Raisy keep this pace and this stature that he has about him throughout the entire thing for base? Can he wake up, and is this just a one-off, a bit of a blip?
I'm hoping this is a bit of a blip. I'm not sure if it's because base isn't used to this matchup, but he may have had a bit of time to practice it anyway. but not enough. It just shows that Clutch can be viable not just on Blood Covenant and some of the other maps, but Blood Run too. As you can see, Raisy manages to take that with, I would say, a surprising score. If you said to me Raisy won 15-2 against a player like Base, who's waiting for any opportunity he can find to get a frag on the board, I would be like, you're having a laugh, mate. You are an absolute joker. But yeah, that is the scoreline. Surprising stuff.
You having a giggle?
You're having a giggle, exactly.
Is this some kind of meme? Yeah, well, I guess not. Apparently, it is just hard-hitting evidence and facts that we've had there. Again, though, a lot of it, in my mind, comes down to the fact that you've allowed Clutch to go through. I don't know if it's got to the point where maybe people are just like, well, he hasn't really been playing it that much, obviously. Like, it's been banned out in a lot of the series. Is it really that good? And then you let him play it, and it's like, all right, we'll keep banning it. Yeah, we'll keep banning it. It's not worth the risk. Obviously, that's only one map, so it's not all doom and gloom. There certainly is still more to come. And moving into Ruins, that's where things get switched up a little bit, as we do have two very speedy characters in play: Anarchy for Base and Strog and Pika for Raisy.
Yeah, this should be more of a close affair. I think Base is just going to make the assumption that that map just never happened.
Just a write-off.
Yeah, I'd write off, definitely. I just find it funny with the suicide and then the spawn in front of him straight afterwards was just... I know... I would love to say it was like a high IQ play, but it's a bit questionable, really, because at the same time, you damn well know that he was actually trying to go for the heavy. But it was funny to say the least. Base must have just face-palmed and gone... what do I do? It just seems like everything is just going in his favour no matter what I do and kind of what circumstances in. But nevertheless, Raisy played that extremely well with most of the item control, trying to burn out as much light armour as possible. But yeah, it's great stuff. We'll have to see if Raisy can actually continue this on in the series, because Base is very good at just resetting his mentality and going into the next map.
Normally, yeah, he is quite composed. We never really see I'd say a disheartened Base for the most part. He normally always seems to have a bit of a smile on him, so hopefully he'll be all right continuing on to the rest of the series. And there is no more opportunity for Clutch as well, which is a one really quite big, garish silver lining over the whole thing. Now then, Ruins of Sarnath, two incredibly speedy champions, which is something that is a bit of a change to Base's playstyle normally, right? Obviously, being more controlling, you do wonder how the speed will affect things overall, especially with it being a bit more of a mirror matchup in the sense of both of them now having that capability. And with it being Sarnath, again, you've got the quick drop points from Mega into Heavy each time. This could be a bit more of a brawl.
It certainly could be. Now, difference with the Anarchy and the Strog, at least with the Strog, you've got that slide mechanic. He's still got, similar speed as Anarchy, but the only problem is the fact that he does have the peekers, so you've got the extra damage that needs to be done. You can feed the info when necessary. This is where you can corner off your opponent as much as you can, depending on the circumstances. But at least with the Injector, you can kind of heal up and get away when necessary, but it's still going to be a bit of a weird one, because I haven't seen Base play Strog too much, so I want to see what's up his sleeve and what wide variety of strategies he's got to implement against Raisy here.
Well, here we go then. As we're into the game. Start off on Base. Let's see what trouble is afoot. Base taking a ton of damage early on. The Pika comes out instantly. The pepper spray from it. Trying to use those pulse rounds and bully him with the individual shots. That's just what he's done. He's got him weak enough that Raisy could fully commit to the chase, gets an angle with the rail, pulls the trigger, and ends the life of Base immediately, taking him down. And already that's the first frag for Raisy. Big start into the game. But what more can he do? Taking some heavy hits right now, and it's leaving him quite green around the gills.
He definitely is, as Raisy now waiting for that Mega to pop. He's going to grab that straight away, because he probably will try and contest that heavy later on, knowing that he can rocket jump up to the Mega and keep that routine and pace going throughout the course of the game. But Raisy just waiting for the light armors for the time being, which is understandable. His stack could be a lot better. But for now, no, he's just keeping that height control, making sure that he can stabilize, which he has done now. So he is in a similar spot in terms of stack. But has decided not to try and contest the heavy for the time being. It doesn't really need to at that point. Decides to prioritise. The Mega knows exactly where Base is. Going to try and feed himself info, knowing that he's actually gone round. Finds the first shot on the board Will he try and go for the second? Depends if Base does go back up, which he doesn't. So it's going to be a stalemate situation once again.
Raisy swinging into action, dropping down, shot after shot, bouncing him about the gaff, and trying to fully commit to the frag. Will get it as he charges around the corner with the LG and takes him down. Raisy, very low at this point though. He can't actually make it up to the Mega in time, so he leaves himself instead just very susceptible, as he was trying to push himself up to grab the Mega and deny it. But it really didn't work out well. He's lucky to actually get out of there.
But Raisy wasn't in the best of spots. That was a huge risk to hang around that light nail gun area, because he could have easily got cornered off, but he could do anyway. The picky comes in to try and throw him off. It wasn't enough. Base gets that first frag on the board, gets to Mega 2. But what can he do here? He has the inject ready. Raisy hasn't got that Pika, so he can't feed himself information for the next half minute. But Heavy comes up. He's delayed the timing ever so slightly. But Base understands exactly how Raisy plays. You can't really surprise Raisy. He's one of those people who's prepared for every situation. So Base realizes that he needs to try and take some high-octane risks. Sometimes he may be at a disadvantage, but it just needs to be done. It's not necessary, but sometimes you've got to put yourself on that back foot, because that's how Raisy plays. But it's a matter of choosing wisely which frag he wants to do in order to push in. But we'll have to see what happens, though, as Base, because it railed once. We'll be waiting for that Mega coming up shortly, but Raisy decides to push in anyway. The inject comes in. He so desperately wanted that next rail. Barely missed. But he's got the Mega anyway. So the chase could be on once he's picked up this armor.
Oh, launching across skylight to skylight. Keeping himself out of harm's way. Base. He needs to get another frag to equalize the equation here between these two men. We're coming up towards 4 minutes on the clock. He turns back around and peeks over the top of the stairs, but can't actually win that stare down versus Raisy. Instead, he has to retreat and wait for the spawn of the Mega. We'll get it. It's a big stack advantage that could get even larger. But Raisy drops down, really starts to punish and be quite a nuisance maker, sending in the Pika as well as a scouting tool. Base comes out worse for wear, with less stack than he actually went in with. But now the game's changing. Raisy burnt to a crisp, torn apart there by the LG. Big play from Base. Saw an opportunity to attack and equalize and has done just that. On the floor though, how has he been able to survive? It looked like he was going down and Raisy had trapped him instead. Base breaks him to pieces.
Oh, the timing of that Mega is what helped him survive. But even then, even though he was on 15 HP, he still would not got taken down. And once again, Base increasing his lead rapidly.
5-minute warning.
As Raisy dodges that spawn with his life there. Normally some opponents may hide behind the corner pillar on that spawn. Some of them just race straight away to get away from it. Raisy decided just to get away ASAP. And Base now is on the back foot. 98 HP. Not back to his default stack as of yet, but it's put a little bit of pressure on Raisy anyway, as Base is continuing to try and back away. He's going to wait for the light armor for now. Completely understandable, and he may rotate back round to get the other one and just give Raisy the heavy for the time being. But at least the Mega's going to be coming up shortly. But Base is having none of it. I think he's playing correctly. He just needs to be patient, wait for the light armors. It will take a little bit of time, but it's better than getting yourself in some deep trouble.
Base, reflying around the angle, expecting the push to come in. Nice amount of damage and good shots to actually keep Raisy back, expecting him to come straight towards him as he leaps through the window. The rocket adjustment is huge. And trajectory is perfect. Raisy, only one frag away from being able to tie up the game now. The closest battle we've had between these two so far. It's good to see that Base has kept a level head and hasn't let what went down on the first map really affect him. Sarnath's certainly been a whole lot of a closer style of game. Pretty much mirror image of Stack currently. Trades of the rails are being mirrored as well. It's crazy how in sync these two competitors are.
See if we can find out any info, maybe get some damage in the two. Managed to get 28, not much, but a little bit just to annoy Base. But Base is saying, yep, I'm having none of that. I'm backing straight away. I'm going to pick a fight of his choosing, not Raisy's. The first rail comes in. Raisy, nicely done, is going to try and bait out that light armor in case Base goes for it. But Base, again, makes the assumption he knows he's going to stop him from doing that. Both of these players have great game sense, and they just make not just the assumption, but they just know from each other's play style how they're going to work and what's going to happen. The mind games are really real right now, and don't get me wrong, Raisy is a frag behind, but still got 2.5 minutes left as the Pika comes in, has the info, and will have a rough idea that Base could be on that staircase to heavy.
Raisy grabs the Mega. Now needs to try and punch Base in the face, because if you get punched in the face, it hurts. Let's see if Raisy can do some damage then as he glides through, picking up the heavy, quickly moving his way across. We hit 8 minutes on the clock, and he looks for an opportunity to strike and tie up the game. He's chasing well, fast and ferociously as he gets up behind him, but it feels like the movement went out of the window as he grinds to a halt. Won't matter though, as he still wins in the end. It felt like he had thrown that opportunity away, but he claws it back from the jaws of defeat. The game's now tied. I'm curious to see if this is going to sudden death or if this is still going to be decided in regulation, as the fight will carry on back down towards the heavy room. Base has been able to grab it in the meantime and get away with the major item, but it's still about 10 seconds until Mega comes up.
Raisy now being the one playing patiently. Base isn't going to contest the Mega and decides to figure out exactly what Raisy's next routine is, as Raisy's literally going in guns blazing here, and for his troubles he gets the heavy as Base backs away. This wouldn't surprise me if this is uncontested, contested into a sudden death. They've still got a minute left, so Base not really in the best of spots for now, trying to make it awkward for Raisy to rail him in any way, but Base just isn't in a position to contest too much right now. He can be in a position to be there and be in the presence of the heavy on a Mega and at least gain some info on where he could be on his whereabouts, but that's about it really. As Raisy trying to chase him down, a huge stack there. Could this be the opportunity for Raisy now to clean up and at least try and finish him off? And the trade comes in after all that. Really can't separate both of these men here. It's got 20 seconds left, and it looked like it could be a sudden death here, Jack.
Man, as if that's the position we're left in, but that's the way that fight goes. Just everyone massacred there towards the heavy run base. Oh, I was going to say he might actually get away to stay alive and survive into sudden death, but no. Raisy straight up the bounce pad, chasing him down, strips him of his wings and pulls him out of the sky. And Raisy, in the end, will get the second map. God, a lot closer, though. A lot more uncomfortable for either player, I'd say, with the way it was played. Never really seemed like they had asserted dominance. A bit more of a messy one.
It was, yeah. Raisy, 48% in terms of his rails, especially with an opponent like Base. Still very good stuff. And you felt like Base was making the right decisions. There was just some slightly unlucky plays. Like you saw there, he was so high in the sky. That was it. He was done for. There was no coming down from that at all. But there was a few decisions which were, I wouldn't say were questionable at all. I feel like he was making the right plays at the right times, especially, even though he can't contest some of the items, he's making sure the map presence is there just to show himself, to say, well, you're not getting this for free. I'm at least getting some audio cues going so I know where you are and where to place yourself. If he was like, maybe some of the slower champions in any way, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. But with the Anarchy, he could do that, so that was perfectly fine. But well played by Base. He had a fantastic start as well, considering like he was 2-0 down and then managed to claw back nicely and made a lot of good decision making in terms of exactly where he's going to be. Both of them just had a huge amount of mind games, even baiting some of the light armors after certain bouts and certain duels that were having, especially with the close range situations they were in. That trade was just absolutely ridiculous. It just seemed like Raisy was just going to have that, but Base said absolutely not. But it was a real shame. It could have gone either way, but Raisy towards the end was way too aggressive and just wanted to try and finish off that map win.
Big stuff. Beautifully played. I think obviously a lot better from Base there as well, more akin to the Base that we know and love and what we expect from him. But it's just hard to beat Raisy. You can't phase Raisy in a lot of these encounters. Even when it seems like he's making mistakes, he claws himself out of them so quickly. It's weird. Doesn't really seem like a lot of hindrances to this man. He always just has his gaze set on the prize and plays to win continuously. It's wild, Harry. Into our last map, though, now. Molten Falls being the decider this time around. Is it going to be a full 3-0, or will Base get a map win? That is the big question, I suppose, on the tip of everyone's tongue.
I'll be surprised if Raisy gets a 3-0 here. Don't get me wrong, Raisy's been playing not the best. Like, he's still been playing like very high caliber in terms of like one of the top tier EU players. Just been a little bit unfortunate in a lot of the matches over the last month. And I feel like he feels like that as well. Like, I don't think he's an arrogant person. He's the sort of guy where he knows mistakes were made. He will rectify them. And I feel like he has done. This is a big improvement from what we've seen in the past. Base, though, it's like I said, he will slowly but surely try and pave his way for a win. He's going to do it somehow, some way. I think Molten Falls will probably be his best option. I thought Blood Run could be, but you saw Raisy's clutch. It was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. It was ridiculous. But now I have to see if Base can at least claw back a map win, because every map, every series counts here in stage 4.
No, they really do. This is essentially the do or die point. It's crazy. Well then, let's kick it off. Let's see how it's going to go. The deciding map between these two, Raisy and Base, for one final time tonight. We start off on Raisy's POV. He is on Doom. Will the double jump be a beneficial aspect of his game on Molten? The geometry can certainly be trivialized by the ability. Right now, though, it's just a battle of the LGs. Casting lightning across the board like two angry wizards as they go at each other. Dire Orb, not used to initiate, instead just to try and scare and do damage. And it does a lot of damage. Raisy is very low. He's falling back, and he does adjust over towards the Mega Spawn. I don't know if he was willing to take as much damage as he initially did into that fight. It means there's a bit more of a delay between them two actually getting into a fully fledged scrap.
The item timings about 12.5 seconds apart, meaning that whoever's going to get this next item will have that rotation and the stack to pressure their opponent. And it looks like the Raisy's going to be the man to do it, to make sure that he keeps his items under control at his pace. But lovely LG there. It looks like the orb comes in. Base does get the mega, but will he even be able to help it? Raisy's trying his best to stay alive, which he doesn't. And Base gets a nice dirty rail for himself and the first frag on the board.
And Base now, as we flip over to him. 1 minute 50 has gone by. It's picked up that opening frag, and a good follow-up with the rail as well. Doing a nice amount of damage, consistently burning his way through Raisy. It takes him down. Smooth moves onto the LG. Didn't really miss a beat on that. Clean connection. It's left him low on ammo, but luckily he'll find a few more as he works his way up the stairs to replenish. Straight up the bounce pad, wearing Raisy like a hat, as it will slow him down on the push. Raisy trying to navigate to avoid this as Base playing with the bounce pad. Such aggressive velocity as he goes flying up into the sky and spears him with the rail. Beautiful kill.
Like I said, Raisy likes surprises and always expects them every single time round. And Raisy definitely expected that. He was waiting so patiently during that course of that bout. Raisy now is just trying to stay alive here. One rail is definitely going to clean him up. You saw there, Base was so tempted to try and finish him off, knowing that Raisy was going to go for that second health orb. But decided to try and shoot him through the gate there. It's unlucky to say the least, but look at this. Base is still tempted to try and get that rail off, but this is not going to help. The orb comes in, gets the mega, but it's not going to make too much difference as Raisy's playing so aggressively here. Probably a little bit too aggressive as Base managed to clean up. And now up 4-1, and he's got Raisy's position here. Not to be the bad call, he's going to have to bait the heavy here, but the Berserk comes in, and Raisy's the one to actually retaliate and get another frag on the board for himself.
The fists as well. As if that's the second like pummel kill we've seen today. Didn't expect to have that many. It's a bit of a rare treat. Ooh. That was beautiful. The consistent rockets in the air with the rocket to rail combo to finally send him off to sleep. And the response of a martyrdom kill there from base to take down Raisy. Lovely bit of Quake between those two. And it's kept us in line as well. A tight series so far with the way it's been played. Molten. Oh, right now, getting a bit hair-raisingly scary. The fists come back out for Raisy. Even though he's got the movement speed, he's not able to dance his way close enough to base to actually land a sucker punch. Instead, he's the sucker, left slapped down by base's rail. 6-3.
When someone strafes with Doom and he's using Berserker mode at the time, it's such an annoying strafe. It's unpredictable to try and counteract what they're doing, but great patience from base. He knew that like, as long as he had the LG out, it would be perfectly fine just to keep him at bay. Like I said, base is maybe a slow player, but very, very clever. And you've got to be careful on what actions he tries to make. But as I say that, one of the rails didn't help too much. Raisy's in a good stance with that mega, good stack. Base needs to be careful not to let this lead get out of hand here. The LG comes through. Nice, easy frag there for Raisy. Gets to heavy too. And has that full item and map control. It's just a matter of how he wants to approach each item. The item timings are looking good. And this is perfect now for Raisy. If he keeps this up and keeps the item as a priority, eventually the frag will come to him depending on how base plays over the next couple minutes.
One frag difference is all that stands between the both of them. And 4 minutes and 30 seconds is the time they have. Raisy walking by, very smart, clears his angle fully before he pushed into the unknown. Lucky as well, base not getting the follow-up shot off with the rail, or else Raisy's health would have been shattered. Instead, he comes out in a good position, scavenges a nice amount of items off the back of it as well, so has a big stack into the next fight, and could win himself another major item here, but it all depends on the timing. As base is able to push his way back in, he grabs it, he does a lot of damage, and the Dire Orb kill is found. Beautiful play. His repositions have been on point, and now using it aggressively as a tool of mass destruction. Wow. It's still effective. Rail's coming out as well, Harry. He is causing turmoil here.
He definitely is. He didn't know the exact timing of the mega, but at the same time, he didn't have to stack to back it up. And as I say, that Raisy just comes straight in. No mucking around there as he ties things up 7-0 and has a huge stack to continue with. But it's understandable earlier. Base couldn't even try and contest the mega earlier, even if he tried. But now both of these players are looking out for the sounds, for the footsteps, and to see exactly where they could be approaching for next. But Raisy gets the next mega. Heavy's coming up in the next couple of seconds. Base now realizes that he's going to try and get it a little bit later than he assumes. The shots comes in. Base has to back away. Raisy's looking very healthy now. But at least Base is putting on some kind of map pressure, something with the item control.
Ooh, Raisy. Love tap from a distance. Smacking Base about. Stripping some of that armor from him. On the peek out, though, he's not as effective with the rails. Instead, he's taking quite a bit of damage from base, but repositions fast to get himself the major item. That was the bigger picture in his mind, and it played out the way he wanted it to. Baiting with the audio cue on the bounce pad as well to then dash across and grab an LG that he needs to wield perfectly, but he's not allowed to. He falls. Base gets the lead again, but he's so low on stack. Has to Dire Roar back into the Mega for the heal. A pocket heal that is so clutch. It's the only thing that's going to keep him breathing. Repositions back round the stairs, peeking up towards Heavy as well, but he can't win that encounter. He's going to give up that item to Raisy. Raisy dirties the timing a bit as well to try and throw off base, and now goes back into what he does best, peeking with a rail.
Another clean rail there from base. Just add a little bit of pressure to his stack, but it doesn't matter anyway as the Mega has been picked up, so not too much of a deficit for Raisy. Still 1 minute and 25 left. Base. It's going to be a struggle for him because Raisy does have a lot of time to work with and he can take a huge amount of risks with the HP and armor he currently has in hand. But Base is very, very good with the old cat and mouse game. He knows exactly where and when and how to actually try and make the movements he needs to. Quiet. But look at this though, so much chip damage. A third rocket now, 97 on the last one. And this is too much for Raisy. I've said before he can take some damage, but that was way too much. The LG shots from the rail lift. The 3 rockets as he was pushing on the hourglasses, it was just too much. But now he's going to try it again. And now Raisy's at a huge advantage. He's going to try and drop down, but I'm surprised Base managed to get away, but he doesn't. Raisy takes him down. Definitely deserved that frag with the amount of times he had to chase him down. And now it looks like it could be sudden death. Sudden death here, Jack, with 20 seconds left.
What on earth, man? That's wild. The shot he's actually hit there to claw it back from the brink of defeat into the position we're now in. 8-8. 9 minutes 50 have gone by. We're getting closer and closer towards sudden death, but we might not even need to. It could be over before we actually make it there. Whoever wins this fight has done it. And Raisy is the one to walk away as the victor. He wanted to fall 3-0, and he's going to get what he wants. He does what he wants. It's your man, Raisy. A 1 frag lead at the end of the game there. But look at the difference on major items. 16 heavies to the 3 of base. 13 megas to the 5 of base. Like, how is it that one-sided and inflated?
I think it was what I mentioned. I think a third of the way through the game, as soon as I saw that 12-second gap, one of those players are just going to be having a field day with the item control. Base was just literally waiting for an opportunity. Raisy didn't really give much of an opportunity to even try and claw back in any way. He was holding the rail area because he knows that if he comes up the lift pad from rail, he's done for. Like, he can always go around to the hourglass side. If he comes from the heavy side, then he can also make the same rotation. It's a good spot to be in, and I think Base held those angles well, but at the same time, you did see that Base was trying to contest a lot of these items in one way or another. Even if he put no damage done, he showed his map presence there to say, I know it's up, I know it's there, I'm still lurking around, so you better watch out for me because I could do some kind of damage, even if it's none or like a huge amount to actually take him down. But it was very unlucky. It could have definitely gone either way on either of these maps, but the first one was a little bit of a dominant performance. I think the blood run with this huge deficit and frags in favour of Raisy was remarkable. Like, I don't think I've seen anyone get defeated on blood run that badly in a long time.
Not in a while. Like, not even when they actually let Raisy play clutch as well, which is getting to the point where it's so rare now. Most of the time it's always banned out, or it just slips through the seams and doesn't get played. But to have it debut there again after some time and just overwhelm and destroy him consistently is crazy. It's cool to see Raisy get to play clutch whenever he does, and it lived up to the hype. It was still a very enjoyable experience.
It was, every time we see Raisy's clutch, we're just like, oh, here we go. Whoever's going to be facing him is not going to be having a field day. It's not the best way to start. It's just a bit weird. Maybe it's just the fact that Base didn't expect him to select clutch as a champion on Blood Run. Maybe, it is a bit of a... I wouldn't say it's a weird pick, but I feel like if he's that good with clutch, then he should be able to play with him on most maps. It's kind of like Doom, really. Doom's quite a viable champion on most maps.
Yeah, I mean, that's also one of the maps that he's good at clutch on as well. If you have to try and divide what maps he's good on, that's certainly one of the better ones. Who knows, Harry? It's all in the past now. Let's look towards the future instead. Game 7, the final game of the night. Our last matchup is coming up after the break, and that will be Toxic taking on our 2-time champion in Kilson. Keep it locked here for that.